So Aaron and I are going to head off soon to Tampa to get wet and to watch Republicans, right? In that order, probably.
Hurricane Isaac on its way.
Exactly. So my guess is that the goal of the Republican convention is to show Mitt Romney as a serious guy that you can also like. And I don't know, it's doable, but it's actually kind of an interesting challenge.
That's right. Two main goals, as you were saying, to get people comfortable with him. So far, that's been a challenge. We know that Mitt Romney, through polling, is seen as a manager. He's got good executive skills. He's perceived as being a serious guy, but not particularly likable. The second goal, he's the challenger. He has to sketch a credible vision of what this country will be if you give him the job. And there we've gotten bits and pieces, lower taxes, less regulation, a new energy plan out today. He's got to do more to flesh that out.
But isn't this kind of basically like a Broadway production here? This is, nothing serious gets done at the convention. It's all about showing him in the best possible light to the people who may be watching on the relatively small slice of time that this will be on the network news, right? That's what's going on.
It is 40 million people.
But only an hour a night.
Hour a night. Look, conventions have changed. They've gone from being dramas to being basically a free shot that we give each party to present itself to the public. But it's their chance to talk to 40 million or more people, 40 million on broadcast TV, more online and Twitter.
It's 3-hour-long infomercials, basically. And then if you do them well, you benefit, you know. And you got Chris Christie on Tuesday night, you got Paul Ryan on Wednesday night, and you got Mitt Romney on Thursday night. The last two are really important. And, you know, we all said, I think we're sitting around this table a couple of months ago, well, Mitt Romney's going to have to reintroduce himself to the American people who don't really warm to him as much as they would hope. He gets two chances to do it. One is after he wins the primary, and the other is at his convention.
That's right. Well, one of the disappointing things, I think, for the Romney campaign and the scheduling that you just laid out is that Ann Romney is not going to be...
Ann Romney, the candidate's wife.
Right. Is not going to be featured in prime time.
Because the networks aren't carrying Monday night. That's her
speech night. So they're not carrying Monday night. But on the other side, you're going to have the Obama campaign doing a lot of counter-programming to the convention. You'll have Vice President Biden going right into the heart of Florida and to Tampa.
Well, I'm sure that'll
Monday and Tuesday.
Strike terror into the hearts of the Republicans. Joe Biden's coming with his malapropisms.
And then
this has never really been done before. I can't recall this kind of counter-programming. I mean, there have been times in the past where the opposition, whether it's an incumbent president or just the opposition, decides to basically take the week off because they think they can't compete. That's the opposite now.
And the Obama campaign debated this back and forth. Should the president go on vacation during this time? Should he lay low? And their fear was, maybe rightfully so, that the Romney folks, if they were to lay low, the Romney folks would not do the same.
And not only the Romney
during
folks.
the Democratic convention. So
this also shows us how we're in a world where the candidates and the parties are not the sole message makers here. They're the super PACs that are as powerful a force.
So that's a good point. So you're saying even if Obama took the week off, the super PACs aren't taking the week off.
That's right.
Don't pretend you can take the week off.
That's right.
The campaign doesn't stop for anything.
Just because Mitt Romney decides I'm not going to run ads doesn't mean a lot of other people won't against him.
Well, there's also the strange thing about the timing of these conventions. They come late because of the Olympics. You could make an argument that if you had 2 weeks in August, you could go down for a while and then pick up on Labor Day. Well, Labor Day, we're going to be in Charlotte at a convention. That's just never happened before. So there's not much time left. You know, you would like to think that there will be some serious policy talk, but I don't think the Romney people believe they have to convey a lot of details on even economic policy.
No, I agree. I mean, look, they think that if people think the economy's lousy, it's Obama's fault, and Romney will do a better job. And the more they talk about the details of their plan, what tax breaks would they do away with, what spending would they cut, who are they going to favor, who are they going to hurt, the more likely they are to draw a tax. So for them, the thing is to set some themes, leave the details out, and deal with those later. We know they're working on them behind the scenes, but there's really no incentive to get detailed now, except maybe in the debates.
The debates, not at the convention, but maybe the debates.
At the debates, they may be pressed to put some meat on the bones.
So, you know, the one thing the Republicans don't want to talk about, but they'll have to talk about next week, is Todd Akin, the congressman from Missouri, who made himself the prime player in the campaign, both sides this week, by saying this.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
Okay, so the Republicans' problem, one of the Republicans' problems has been a gender gap. They don't do as well among women as they do among men. This doesn't make it better for them on the gender gap front.
No, it certainly doesn't, and it's something that the Obama folks have really seized on in the last few days and will continue to seize on. You've seen in our poll this week that the gender gap is not changing in any way, and you also and the Obama folks really want to take advantage of that. And interestingly, they had planned on taking advantage of that ahead of Congressman Akin's remarks, and released an ad on Friday saying that, you know, pushing some of the positions that Vice President nominee Paul Ryan had taken on abortion, and they were really planning on pressing this issue, and then this happened, and now they're kind of just letting the Republicans
so they were on the
have
path
this
to
argument.
an abortion argument
Totally.
even before
Yeah,
this happened.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then you saw the president come out. He hadn't done a press conference in a number of weeks, was under a lot of pressure and criticism from Republicans, and decided on Monday, coincidentally, to come out and declare that
rape is rape. And the idea that we should be parsing and qualifying and slicing what types of rape we're talking about doesn't make sense to the American people.
So Akin won't be in Tampa. He's
Right.
agreed to stay away. Do we think he's going to actually stay in the race? Does that way it looks?
It looks like that right now, and who's to say he can't win? He's got a base of support. He was the legitimate winner of a primary with only about 35% of the vote. But who knows? One of the things that happened yesterday, the Family Research Council, one of the big groups of social conservatives, said, fine, you party leaders want to attack our guy, we'll withdraw our support from Republican candidates in other states and use that money to fill in what you're pulling out from supporting Todd Akin in Missouri.
This kind of takes us back to something we went through over and over again in 2010, which is a tension between the party establishment, which just wants to win races, and the kind of grassroots Tea Party, evangelical Christian, grassroots conservatives who really are.
They believe.
They are principled people, whether you agree with them or not, and they want to stick with their principles, and they're just not mercenaries.
But what horrible time! Can you think of another example of one person saying just a few words that have engendered
hijacked the
this
entire campaign?
Huge reaction. More than anything, this underscores something that we've seen in the election, the presidential election in the last few weeks, which is this is no longer a referendum about Barack Obama. This is a choice for voters between two parties.
But see, these things always matter because there's a context. The context here is that Republicans don't want to talk about social issues, and Democrats are happy to do that. The Republican presidential ticket doesn't want to be too closely associated with Republicans in Congress, even though Paul Ryan is one of them, because they're not very popular. And they also want to deal with the gender gap issue, and this is like for Democrats, this becomes the triple play.
Right, and I noticed in the Boston and the Massachusetts Senate race, Elizabeth Warren has now started using the Todd Akin lines in commercials against Scott Brown, who's one of the first people to condemn them. So it's not, what happens in Missouri doesn't stay there. That's why this
that's right. But you have to say the luckiest woman in politics this week was Claire McCaskill, who's the Democratic senator who could have been beaten by Todd Akin.
I would put Barack Obama right behind her. We're not, this election on the presidential level is no longer about the Obama economy front and center. It's about which party says what about abortion. And
but it'll go back to the economy. Romney's going to steer it back to the economy, and we get the economic numbers have been a little bit encouraging now, a couple of bad numbers, and in the end, I think the voters care a lot more about whether they have a job than what Todd Akin said.
I don't disagree, but every week we defer that conversation is a week that Obama.
No, but I think there's a point here, which is that if you use your convention right, this is the one thing you can do in a convention, which is to change the subject back to what you want to talk about. But speaking of things we want to talk about, you mentioned our poll earlier this week. Interesting in the sense that you have a presidential race that looks as if it's kind of stuck at Obama up by 4 to 6 points, but beneath that, a lot of things are going on.
This is it really is fascinating. Mitt Romney is substantially ahead.
48 to 44 in our poll.
Well,
I'm sorry,
Obama's ahead 48 to 44 overall. Romney is ahead in the biggest sector of the electorate. He's winning substantially among white people. He's got a 13-point lead there. But you know, it's not enough because of Obama's towering numbers on the smaller set of the electorate, which is black voters, Hispanics, young people. In fact, we talked to 1,000 people in our survey. 13% of them were black. We didn't find one single African-American poll respondent who was going to vote for Mitt Romney.
That's astonishing.
Yeah, no, and I think that...
And among Hispanics, it's almost 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Right, so that's why you hear so much talk about the turnout. If President Obama can get the Hispanic vote, the black vote, and the youth vote to turn out, he has a much better chance of winning. because the white working class vote seems to be pretty much in Romney's.
But this is the new Democratic Party that we're talking about.
This
here.
is, and it's, you know, it's been trending this way for a long time, and it's something that Obama has benefited from in 2008 and is going to benefit from even more in 2012. And if you look at what the Obama campaign has done, they've made a very concerted effort to really micro-target these different groups. And to talk about, we were talking about earlier with Congressman Akin, you know, the women vote in particular is something that they've gone after. And, you know, working women, single women, and professionals. I mean, that's where he's winning among white voters. And then he's, you know, doing tremendously well among African Americans and the Hispanic vote. I mean, you can't, if he wins as much as he did in 2008, it's very hard to see a path for Romney.
The last point on the poll, there was an uptick in economic optimism.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised.
Should there be?
Well, I'm not more optimistic, but I'm only one vote, you know. Our poll showed an uptick in economic optimism that has been mirrored in the other consumer confidence polls.
That's true.
So people still think Obama's, by and large, doing a lousy job managing the economy, but to the extent that they feel better about the economy, that has to be a plus for him.
Well, and I've said all along that what matters on the economy in October is not what the numbers are, it's what the trend line is. So, meantime, President Obama's character became a topic in ad wars this week, and an old face reappeared to join the fray. We'll be back to look at those in just a minute.